Klute was a 1971 film by the famous director Alan J. Pakula, who also directed such classics as All the President's Men. Starring Donald Sutherland as Klute, a private detective, and Jane Fonda as Bree, a New York City call girl, Klute is considered a neo-noir genre of film. Klute explores issues regarding power, morality, and empowerment, and awarded Jane Fonda an Academy Award for Best Actress. Astrologically, these issues also express its use of Plutonian themes, which is articulated in its plot, characters, and through cinematic aesthetics. Klute, the title of the film, is named after Donald Sutherland's character, an amateur private investigator who is charged to find a missing friend and co-worker, Tom Gruneman, hired by Tom's boss, Peter Cable. Through information obtained from the police, Tom's missing persons case could be linked to a New York City call girl, Bree, played by Jane Fonda. Klute goes to New York City to start the investigation, which leads to him revealing the true killer, his, spoiler alert, boss, Peter Cable. However, the deeper story is the slow reveal of Bree, the main character, who was an unsuccessful actress relying on prostitution for her living. From there, we're met with an array of characters that represent certain aspects of her life. Frank Legorin, her pimp, Mr. Goldfarb, one of Bree's clients who, quote-unquote, never touched her, her therapist, and her friend and fellow call girl, Arlene Page, who ends up a junkie. Pluto's influence, especially its aspect to other planets, is seen throughout the film, playing on Plutonian themes. In mythology, Pluto is the Roman equivalent of the Greek god Hades, the god of the underworld. In Latin, the name Pluto comes from the word Pluton, which means the wealthy one, alluding to Pluto's rulership of underground minerals and extraction. In Greek, the name Hades refers to something unseen, which is also demonstrated by Pluto's use of the cap of Hades, or cap of invisibility, a helmet that Pluto would wear when leaving the underworld. This also suggests that Pluto is an invisible force that impacts us on a more unconscious level. Pluto is associated with death, especially receiving souls in the afterlife. Though not necessarily an evil entity, he is associated with death, transformation, and the often difficult process of rebirth. Along with the Pluto's Hades myth, Pluto's underworld is protected by Cerberus, the three-headed monster, also referred to as the Hound of Hades. Though not always, Cerberus is described as a three-headed dog with snakes along its body. This theme will also be expressed in Klute and will be described later. In astrology, Pluto is associated with death, rebirth, transformation, darkness, control, unseen matters, and the colors black and brown. The higher vibration of Pluto is the phoenix, the ability to be reborn from the ashes of loss, and its ability to let go of it to experience something new. This is a cycle of death and rebirth, which affects us astrologically. Pluto was discovered in 1930 during a time of the rise of both nuclear-powered Nazism. It was also discovered during the rise of psychotherapy and psychoanalysis, which Pluto represents in modern astrology. In traditional astrology, Pluto's slow 248-year orbit around the Sun is considered, spending decades in each house as it travels around the Sun. Therefore, Pluto is a slow, generational planet which affects generations of people. So, in traditional astrology, Pluto is interpreted in its aspect to other planets, especially personal planets. This is how Pluto expresses itself in Klute, through its characters, plot, and overall aesthetics. Klute opens with Klute, Donald Sutherland's character, at a Thanksgiving dinner with a large floor-to-ceiling window of sunlight behind him. He is tall and blond, which emphasizes the planet he represents, the sun, a revealer. Though he is also a Saturnian figure, which speaks to his dedication to find Tom Gruneman. He is a friend of Tom's family and employee of Peter Cable. The Saturn connection is also alluded to in his name, which is an anglicization of the German surname Klute, which means clumsy or awkward. It is also from the same root as the English word klutz, and true to his name, Klute's dedication to his responsibilities and conformity in dress is so Saturnian, especially compared to Brie's hipper, more cosmopolitan lifestyle. When asked by Brie what Klute thought about her lifestyle, Klute answered, "All that stuff is so pathetic." When Klute was first released, the movie critic Robert Ebert thought that Klute should have been named after Brie, the main character. However, Klute solves the crime and reveals the Plutonian urges of the other characters, which explains why the movie is titled so. He's the solar force, which shines light on the darker aspects of Pluto, explaining the title. Brie represents a Pluto-Venus aspect, which is reflected in her therapy sessions, a modern astrological interpretation of Pluto, right? As well as her occupation as a call girl, especially taking calls at night, alluding to Pluto's relationship to darkness and things unseen. She also gains money from her career, referring to Pluto's association with wealth or things unseen. Many would associate Brie with Neptune, interpreting her career as a call girl with Neptune's significance with escapism. However, a therapy session shows that Brie knows her profession. For her career was not about escapism, but control, showing her Plutonian urge. When asked by the therapist why she was successful as a call girl and not an actress,
"You're successful as a call girl. You're not
Because
successful."
when you're a call girl, you control it. That's why.
she is Plutonian in a Venusian profession. Like Pluto, Brie is protected, and I say that in quotes, by three men who align with the protective mythology of the three-headed Cerberus. Frank Legorin is Brie's pimp and shows a clear Plutonian force. He is about controlling his call girls, and especially Brie, who he admits was his favorite. Through the film, as Brie and Klute begin to show affection for each other, Brie returns to Frank, moving in with him, feeling more comfortable to go back to the life she already knew as a full-time call girl. Frank's surname, Legorin, exposes Frank's own Plutonian need for control, as it is associated with the Italian verb legor, which means to tie or to bind, representing that Plutonian need for control. Frank controls Brie as he knows that she can psychologically manage a life as a call girl. However, he is also a Martian character, representing Mars's urge to separate and break up. Throughout the movie, Frank tries to break apart Brie's relationship with Klute, even to the point of having a fight with Klute, emphasizing Mars' role as the god of war. A third man, apart from Frank Legorin and Klute, that affects Brie is Mr. Goldfarb, an overworked owner of an apparel factory. He is a repeat client of Brie, meeting her in private and at night, though, quote-unquote, never touching her, as Brie tells Klute. He is a Jupiterian figure, which is also shown in his name. Goldfarb is an Ashkenazi name, meaning golden colored, which is also the color Jupiter. Jupiter is the permissive father that wants liberation from the daily grind. This is where Pluto aspects Goldfarb's Jupiterian urge. Mr. Goldfarb's secretary mentions that Goldfarb is always working, a Saturnian quality, though he expresses his Jupiterian urge at night, in secret, and through ways that are not proper, which is associated with Pluto. Goldfarb controls Bree financially, though he is permissive. When Bree wants to meet with Goldfarb, he did not make the appointment, but did give her some money stuffed in an envelope. While the three male characters, Klute, Frank Legorin, and Mr. Goldfarb, represent a protective, though Plutonian force for Bree, like the three heads of Cerberus. Pluto is expressed through a minor female character as well, Arlene Page, a previous friend of Bree and fellow callgirl who becomes a junkie. Only once is Arlene physically present in the movie, as she and her partner are dealing with withdrawal symptoms while attempting to obtain drugs. Her importance to Pluto will be expressed later, as she represents the difficulties of death and rebirth. As stated earlier, Klute is considered a neo-noir film, which is characterized by themes of moral ambiguity, definitely a theme in Klute, as well as darker cinematography. Cinematically, Klute uses lightness and darkness to reinforce Klute's solar impulse, contrary to the Plutonian urges of the other characters. Klute works during the day. He is usually surrounded by light, not just in the opening scene, but throughout the film. He meets up with Peter Cable, his boss, during the day. Bree is seen mostly at night, again, the darkness associated with Pluto. When she is seen during the day, she usually wears sunglasses. All the other characters are also shown in darkness. Klute meets Frank Legorin, Bree's pimp, in a dark room with no windows. Bree visits Mr. Goldfarb at night, and when she was supposed to visit him in the day, he did not appear. At one time during the day, Bree jumps out of Klute's car to run into a dark nightclub to meet Frank Legorin, who was in the club. Again, this is Pluto's urge to return to what it knows. Bree can control her life in darkness, but it's harder for her to deal with the issues that the sunlight reveals. In one scene called The Love Scene, Klute and Bree are buying fruit from a fruit stand. The symbolism is clear. Venus, the planet of love, also rules sugar, including fructose. Bree steals a piece of fruit and stuffs it in her purse, while Klute sees and remarks on it. This is seen later in the film as Bree is beginning to show feelings for Klute. She is slowly operating on her Venusian energy, though Pluto is still showing itself, representing in her minor stealing. Pluto is a transformative planet dealing mostly with death and rebirth, and Klute's story arc ends with this Plutonian theme. In the end, Peter Cable is found out as the killer who murdered Tom Grinneman and Arlene Page. Klute solves the crime, but not before Peter Cable admitting it to Bree and playing to Bree a very terrifying recording of the murder of Arlene Page. Sitting in Mr. Goldfarb's clothing factory and illuminated by a large window full of sunlight, again, that solar urge to reveal, Peter Cable confronts Bree, wanting to also murder her, though she is saved by Klute, who has been surveilling Bree's movements. Peter jumps out the window into the daylight and falls to his death. Throughout the movie, Peter Cable was a very minor character, but by the end he was a true Plutonian force throughout. Like the Cap of Hades, Peter Cable was a hidden force, following Bree in secret. In the ending scene, when Peter confronts Bree, he says, "There are little corners in everyone that should be left alone. Weaknesses that should never be exposed." The Pluto archetype is very clear here. For the two female characters in Klute, Bree and Arlen Page, the consequences for Pluto's energy are developed in the plot. The higher lesson of Pluto is to let go of those things that don't function anymore. Many times, Pluto's slow orbit makes the intensity of the change even greater, sometimes in a physical, worldly manner. For Arlen, though a minor character, she represents what happens when you don't heed that higher lesson of Pluto. The harder you cling to those things that are maladaptive to you, the harder the consequences. Arlene Page's death represents the death that we experience if we don't embrace the phoenix, the higher vibration of Pluto. In the ending scene of Klute, Bree and Klute are seen walking through Bree's empty apartment while she's reflecting during a therapy session as she's moving out.
I don't know how I feel about him. It's so hard for me to say it. God.
What? To say what?
I'm going to miss him.
She answers her phone and mentions to a client calling her that she's leaving the city, implying that she's quitting her life as a call girl. Unlike Arlen Page, she is showing that higher vibration of Pluto and letting go. She ends as a phoenix. The Klute is an older movie. It is still a classic movie known for its cinematic genius. Apart from winning Academy Awards, Klute has been studied for its artistic genius. It is still available under the Criterion Collection, a company that restores and distributes classic movies known for their cinematic importance. I would like to thank Maria and Luis Mateos and LINCOS Astrology for allowing me to review this important film. It is greatly appreciated, and I hope that this review shows the importance of Pluto in astrology. Thank you.